What makes a football legend? Is it the goals, the trophies, or the influence that lingers long after the final whistle? For Arsenal, few names capture that spirit quite like Ian Wright. From a late bloomer who almost missed his chance at the professional game, to a record-breaking striker who became one of the most beloved figures in English football. Wright's journey is more than a highlight reel. It's the foundation on which Arsenal's modern greatness was built. Ian Wright's story doesn't start in the glamorous academies of football's elite. It begins in South London, in an environment where opportunities were scarce and obstacles were everywhere. He wasn't signed to a major club as a teenager. In fact, by the time most pros were already breaking into first teams, Wright was still playing Sunday League, holding down construction jobs, and wondering if the dream had passed him by. But even then, his determination was impossible to ignore. He played with the kind of hunger that made him stand out every time he stepped onto a pitch, even when no scouts were watching. That hunger finally paid off when Crystal Palace spotted him. At 22 years old, an age when most strikers are already establishing themselves, Wright signed his first professional contract. What happened next was nothing short of explosive. He scored 118 goals for Palace, including a brace in the 1990 FA Cup final replay against Manchester United, cementing his reputation as a striker who could rise to the biggest occasions. Wright wasn't just scoring goals, he was rewriting what it meant to fight your way to the top against all odds. But his real legacy would begin in 1991, when Arsenal came calling. For a then club record $2.5 million, Wright joined the Gunners, and from his debut it was clear the investment was worth every penny. He scored a hat-trick in his first league start. That wasn't just an introduction, it was a declaration. Arsenal had found their next talisman. Throughout the 1990s, Wright was Arsenal's beating heart in attack. He wasn't the tallest striker, nor the strongest, but he had an instinct that can't be taught. He thrived on poachers' finishes, but he could also smash long-range strikes into the top corner. Defenders knew his movement was a nightmare to track. One wrong step and Wright was gone. And above all, he played with visible passion. Every goal meant something. Every celebration radiated joy, often punctuated by his signature wide smile. Fans loved him not only for what he did, but for how he made them feel. By the time Arsène Wenger arrived at Arsenal in 1996, Wright was already a club legend in the making. But under the French manager's new philosophy, his career took on even greater meaning. Wright scored the goals that carried Arsenal through that transitional era, paving the way for the likes of Dennis Bergkamp, Thierry Henry, and the generation that would transform Arsenal into a global powerhouse. Without Wright laying the foundation, Arsenal's golden era might have looked very different. His crowning achievement came in 1997, when he broke Cliff Bastin's long-standing club scoring record. That 179th goal, scored against Bolton, was celebrated in pure Wright fashion. He revealed a t-shirt underneath his kit that read, 179, just done it. By the time he left Arsenal in 1998, his tally stood at 185 goals in 288 appearances. It was a record that would stand until Thierry Henry eventually surpassed it, but Wright's place in history was already secured. Beyond the numbers, Ian Wright's influence ran deeper. He gave Arsenal an identity rooted in grit and flair, in passion and resilience. He wasn't a product of privilege or an academy system. He was proof that raw determination could triumph. Young strikers looked at Wright and saw possibility. Players like Henry and Ian Wright's own stepson, Sean Wright-Phillips, have spoken about how his presence and guidance inspired them. Wright wasn't just paving the way for Arsenal's greats. He was paving the way for England's next generation too. Even after retirement, Wright never disappeared from the spotlight. His career as a pundit and broadcaster has made him one of the most recognizable voices in football. But what makes him stand out isn't just his analysis, it's the authenticity. The same passion he showed on the pitch is alive in his commentary, his interviews, and his outspoken advocacy for players, especially those who face challenges in the modern game. Wright continues to embody the spirit of football as something more than a sport. It's a lifeline, a community, a dream worth chasing. So why does Ian Wright matter so much to Arsenal today? Because his legacy isn't confined to old highlight reels. His influence can still be seen every time a young player makes their debut. Every time Arsenal fans demand passion from their team. Every time the Emirates erupts after a goal. Wright showed that football is as much about the story as it is about the scoreline. He was proof that greatness can come late, but when it arrives, it changes everything. Some might argue that Arsenal's modern icons, Henry, Bergkamp, Vieira, cast longer shadows, but those giants stood on a foundation Wright helped build. He bridged eras, carried Arsenal through change, and set the standard for what it meant to wear the badge. Without Wright, the Arsenal we know today might never have fully taken shape. In the end, the legend of Ian Wright isn't just about the goals he scored. It's about the joy he brought, the inspiration he gave, and the pathway he cleared for Arsenal's modern greats. He wasn't just a striker, he was a movement. And for Arsenal fans, he will always be remembered not just as a record breaker, but as the heart of a club in transformation. If you enjoyed this story of Ian Wright and how he paved the way for Arsenal's modern greats, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more football legends and untold stories, and hit the bell so you never miss the next chapter of the beautiful game.